Hello, hello, hello. I am here to give you a very special treat, a bonus episode, as it were. I am going to provide to you here in the feed a sample of the Patreon show that we do, Midnight Radio. Now, on Midnight Radio, we cover a bunch of other movies, musicals, things like that. So this episode I decided to give you for free as a sample, as a teaser, is our discussion about how to talk to girls at parties, which is the John Cameron Mitchell directed movie, which we both really enjoyed. I hope you do enjoy, and if you like it, then check out the Patreon, because you get bonus episodes for this show and for my other show, Bat Minute. So you get that all included for one price. It's only $2 a month, and we're going to be ramping up and doing a few more. At the moment, we're covering Rent, things like that. So it's lots of fun. So do check it out. You can just find it on Patreon, or there's links on the Facebook and whatnot, or you can go to patreon.hedwigpodcast.com. Enjoy.
Ladies and gentlemen, whether you like it or not, Hedwig!
All the strange rock and rollers, you know you're doing alright. So hold on to each other. You gotta hold on tonight. You're shining like the brightest star. A transmission.
Hello, you strange rock and rollers, and welcome to the first ever Midnight Radio. So this is the bonus show for Hedwig, Inch by Angry Inch, where I'm going to talk about various movies, music, musicals that don't necessarily have any connection to Hedwig whatsoever. But this one does, because this that we are covering today is directed by John Cameron Mitchell. I am joined today, well, I should say I am your host, John. You should probably know who the fuck I am, because you should be used to me by now. But I am joined by my very, very special guest.
Hello, it's me, Lol, John's better half.
That's a contentious thing to say.
Cheeky swine.
So yeah, you probably get the vibe. This is more chilled. This is more freeform. We're just going to chat about the movie in general. So we watched How to Talk to Girls at Parties. Now, I had only heard of this for the first time a few weeks ago, despite being a huge Hedwig fan. I'd never heard of this movie. I mean, it's only been out a few years. It's not old. What was it, like 4 years or something?
2017.
3 years then. 3 years. So it's strange that I didn't hear about it, but there you go. But when I did hear about it from my friend at work, I was very, very excited, because he told me it's everything that you like. It's punk music, and it's John Cameron Mitchell. What more do you need? Oh, and it's a crazy sci-fi romance.
Yeah, I think it captured all of those elements very well as well.
Yes, it did. Now, where do we even begin with this? We should probably go through the plot. So this film is set in the 70s in England, the height of punk, 77, in fact, which is refreshing to see in film, because films always go for 80s punk, cheesy punks with mohawks and whatnot. So this was much more how I view punk as a fan of the Sex Pistols, the Clash, the Damned, X-Ray Specs, the Slits, who were even name-dropped in the movie, which to me shows that the makers of this really know what the fuck they're talking about.
Well, it's interesting you say that, because in a review I read of it, one of the criticisms of this movie is that it doesn't capture the spirit of punk very well.
I mean, you could argue that, but the point of the movie isn't to capture the spirit of punk. They are punks.
Incidentally.
And it has a punk vibe, but it's a sci-fi romance. It's not going to be totally... It's not about the punk scene.
No, but that's the backdrop of it, I suppose.
Yeah.
So
it's not exploring the ins and outs of the punk scene, necessarily. So that's a bit of a silly criticism, I think.
Yeah,
I'm biased.
I agree. I agree with you. And it's very your aesthetic, because when we first met, that was very much your fashions.
It still is, in a way. I'm very lazy. So,
You're not.
I am. When I'm not being lazy, it can be. That's my general look, my feel, my vibe. That's my music. That's the background I come from.
I thought it had a really nice twist on some of the punk elements as well. Like the girl band was kind of evoking the Slits.
Yeah.
Very much the drummer, and it was a unique and I suppose a type of punk that you don't normally see. As you say, it's more accurate to the 70s version.
Yeah.
Rather than cheesy 80s stuff, and it's quite refreshing to see that in a movie. Although this is like a low budget movie, it's not a big blockbuster.
But that makes it better, really. I think it should be low budget. I saw a criticism about whenever there's a CGI scene, which we will get to, whenever there's any CGI about I'll just say it, the aliens that you're going to get in the film, they were like, oh, it looks cheap. And it's, well, A, it's a low budget movie. B, it's not going to look like Avatar, is it? Like, what the fuck? And it's meant to be it's kind of internal and mental and things. It's not necessarily literally in that scene we're going to talk about later where they appear to be flying through space. They're not literally flying through space. So fuck it, who cares?
But there were lots of influences for us, weren't there? Because, we're big film buffs. So as we were watching it, we were seeing lots of different movies that we love, such as Under the Skin. There was a bit of that in there.
Oh, loads of that, yeah.
I didn't mention this one to you at the time, but it reminded me of the movie that was done after. It was one of the Cornetto trilogy films. I can't remember.
Oh, World's End.
Yeah.
Yeah,
There's a little bit of that in there.
Totally.
And was there any things you can think of that it reminded you of that we've watched, beloved?
Film-wise, well, I didn't think of World's End, but Under the Skin was definitely one. I can't think of any others in particular. It felt familiar and new at the same time. I think that's what I liked about it. I could imagine it's not particularly popular, though.
Yeah, not to everyone's cup of tea.
No, because it's kind of a weird mixture of very serious, talking about kind of metaphysical, ethereal, spiritual things, mixed with really silly stuff, which I adore that combination. Not everybody would be on board with that duo.
Do you think, as a Hedwig expert, if you like,
well, I don't know about that.
I think you qualify having the podcast, that did it really, make you think this is a John Cameron Mitchell film? Could you see his stamp on it? Because I
Yes.
really could.
Yes.
At first I was like, oh, this is quite different. It's English and, it's kind of a different world for us. I mean, I've only seen Hedwig, I haven't seen any of his other movies. But as it went on, some of the shots and things that, to me, were quite in the vein of Hedwig. They're a bit manic and a little bit.
But then conversely, it did his other thing as well, which I notice a lot in Hedwig. It holds shots. When necessary, the camera's still.
Yeah.
Which I think is important. To me, the best shots in movies are when the camera's still. So it did both. It felt like it captured
His spirit
his
as a
essence.
director. Definitely, yeah. And it was quite artsy, and I think you're right, it won't be to everybody's sort of taste that. But, we do watch a lot, not to be like,
we're very powerful.
we're bougie, we know. But we do watch loads of different films, and we're not, I wouldn't say we're not fussy, but we're open-minded, and we watch things like David Lynch.
Well, David Lynch is my favourite director, other than John Cameron Mitchell.
If he's listening, maybe you might want to.
He's not paying for this.
But do you want to sort of summarise the plot, maybe?
Well, we'll just go through it. We'll just comb through. We won't talk about every plot point, obviously, but yeah. So it's set in the 70s, and you meet this group of punks who I adored all of them, even the dickhead. Which one was he? I'm bad with the names. The main guy's Henry, and there's Vic and John. I think it was Vic, was it, the dickhead?
It must have been Vic, because I think John was the bigger guy. Yeah,
the bigger one. I thought they were all great. They all felt like punks. Especially, they felt like they were the age they were playing as well. They were kind of, towards the tail end of school. And that's what punks wore in the 70s in England. They'd take their school blazer, they'd rip it up, they'd stick badges on it.
Yeah,
they
that's
looked the
cool.
part. And especially the way Well, Henry wasn't. I don't mean this as a diss. He wasn't that cool.
I thought he was cool in his own little way, but yeah, not stereotypical.
Yeah. In other
I
movies,
wanna
the
be
punks
cool.
are cool too. It's like, no, these are kids who are into punk.
Yeah.
They're me, basically. And then Vic, even, who thinks he's fucking cock of the walk, turns out he's not that cool, really. He's,
Something happens to him. doesn't
something
it?
happens to him, which helps him grow and become a better person. Strangely.
That's true.
Yeah. So yeah, you're introduced to them, and they go to a gig, which really felt like a genuine punk gig to me. I thought that was cool because it wasn't too over the top. Again, movies showing punk gigs, it's always over the top. It's crazy. It's wild. People are vomiting everywhere.
Spitting. There was a bit of spitting.
There's a
Wasn't
bit of
bottle
yeah,
throwing.
but that was the time, and people throwing the bottles and the glasses. That happened. But it felt like a small gig. It was in like a shithole. It was falling apart.
We've been there, haven't we?
We go
in
to
them.
those fucking places all the time.
No diss to any of the bands because we love them all dearly. But
No, I wouldn't want them to play somewhere that wasn't a shithole. Well, unless it made them get a lot of money.
unless it made them ill with like some sort of respiratory
Oh
difficulty.
yeah, that's the thing. This venue, you could feel the asbestos,
Crumbling ceiling. Definitely.
and I thought that was fantastic. It felt like a punk gig. So then afterwards, they seek the after party, which I've never been that fucking bothered about. But that's something people go for. They love the after party.
Do you remember that really weird after party we went to in the Crazy House that time? And it was...
Oh, where it wasn't really the after
it
party,
was
but
just
it was.
a DJ and then some random woman stripping.
Yeah, just
Or
one
doing some
random.
sort of burlesque or something.
No, wasn't she just a patron though?
I couldn't work out if she was sort of part of it or if she was just a girl
No,
who'd wandered in a bit drunk.
I think she just wandered in. She was just like grooving away to Rob Zombie or some shit.
I mean, that is standard in the Crazy House, to be fair.
Yeah.
As we know, but...
It was interesting, but it wasn't the after party for the gig. There was about 6 people.
Yeah, it was a letdown, to say the least.
It was funny, though. It was funny.
But this is a very, very different after party.
This is very different because they actually go to the wrong place because they don't really know where the after party is. Much like when we tried to find the secret after party for the Dragula tour. But that was a fun night anyway. It was fun. So they end up at the wrong place. It's a very... I don't want to say a fancy house, but it's much fancier than where they come from. They're like street kids,
It reminded me of like a student house, but if the person had money to do it up, because there's got very snazzy wallpaper.
Yeah, it's like what those student houses probably started off as.
Yeah.
But they get there and it's weird. The strange lights, the strange people. They eventually, get invited in, and there's some very odd happenings going on at this party. It's not normal.
But it's quite interesting because they are punks, so they are sort of, should we say, other. They're quite open to it. They like the strangeness. They almost revel in the strangeness of it because...
Well, especially like John Guy, he starts dancing with them all.
Yeah, he's loving it. He's living his best life. But I think it's sort of, punks were very open to new experiences, weren't they? I mean, they used to hang out with the kind of the outcasts of society, so to speak.
Yeah.
The drag queens that weren't really accepted in mainstream, which fantastically they are now. They'd go to and play gigs in their clubs. Am I correct in saying?
They'd hang out a lot. They'd go to all the drag clubs and stuff and the gay bars and things because they wouldn't get hassled, really. They wouldn't get people trying to beat them up and shit like that. So that was one avenue they would go. And I suspect you're about to talk about the other one. Yeah,
and they kind of they spend time with people in the black community as well, and they enjoy their music, and they're seen in the clubs sort of talking about that. And obviously times in the 70s it was people were very divided, weren't they?
Oh yeah, no, absolutely. And the punks would hang out with like Rastas and things like that. That was pretty common. In fact, a lot of the first punk DJs over here were like Rasta guys, because again, even though they tend to be very religious, they're seen as outcasts and outsiders because they're black and they're Rastas. So they would often DJ at the punk clubs, and there was no punk music to begin with. Nobody'd released anything. So the music at the punk clubs between bands was always like reggae and dub.
And then the Clash and bands like that sort of adopted that into their own thing as well, didn't they? And merged it together.
Yeah,
So,
no, totally.
So that was good to see. I think that did, for me, that made it quite accurate as a punk sort of
It was
snapshot.
very accurate, even down to they were playing reggae songs at some points, which I thought was great. Because again, you can tell that. I mean, I know it was based on a short story by Neil Gaiman, but it's a very short story. So, they could deviate from it a lot. It's only like 20 pages or something. So John Cameron Mitchell really knows what he's doing.
Definitely.
He gets it. He understands it. He knows it in and out. Now, he did grow up in Scotland for a while. I mean, Berlin, of course, but Scotland as well for a while.
Yeah. I think his mum's Scottish. I'm not quite
Yeah,
sure.
Scottish. So maybe he had some exposure to it there, although Scotland's pretty much as far away you can get from, where are they, Croydon?
Croydon, yeah, London.
It's pretty far away, but whatever, he knows his shit.
So they go into the house and there's all kinds of strange phenomena going on, should we say. There's people doing acrobatics.
Yeah.
And kind of very experimental dance and music happening. And they're dressed in a very futuristic style. Now, I didn't know when we started watching it that they were aliens.
I did, because my friend at work who recommended it did tell me that.
Ah, okay.
But I didn't want to tell you.
No, that's cool. It was good for me to explore it, and I think. Could you think someone could guess that they were aliens straight away, or do you think that it does the whole this is a cult quite well?
Yeah, I don't know. Going in knowing they were aliens, to me the signs were there. But would they be there for someone else? I think maybe no. I think people would start off thinking maybe it's a cult.
A strange dance troupe.
But then the opening shot of the movie is kind of like in space. So I don't know. It's interesting.
Yeah.
Any listeners, let me know.
Yeah, it was interesting to explore that, and I think quite quickly I did sort of realise, there's something odd about this. There's also a lot of mention of a virus, which is
Topical.
very, very fitting to current moment.
Very.
But with a good message saying that perhaps a virus could save us.
Yeah, it was a different spin on it.
So maybe we should adopt this attitude of...
That's the thing. Like, let me just put this out there to everyone as well. We're recording this instantly after watching the film. Well, we took a break to eat some green curry. Thai food, hell yeah. But, it's one of those things. This is our fresh view and opinion and thoughts. Maybe in 2 weeks' time we'll come up with other stuff. Other things we didn't think about. But it intrigues me, all that stuff, because I'm not sure exactly what it's saying.
I think I've got some idea about it, but I don't know whether to go into it now or to sort of continue on with the plot a little bit more.
Yeah, we'll continue on. So yeah, they're doing all kinds of strange things and
Very odd.
Very odd. And Vic manages to pull a beard. Pull a beard. He's an interesting character. He's a bit Steve Jones of the Sex Pistols.
Yeah, we saw that in there, didn't we?
Totally, because he was just a dirty, dirty rotter.
And he was always picking up women, wasn't he? And he didn't treat women with a lot of respect either.
No, and he admits that now.
There's a bit Sid Vicious in there as well, I think.
Mix them two together and you've got that Vic guy, yeah.
Kind of quite an obnoxious character, likes the banter.
Yeah, the bants.
So the main...
There's always one random mate like that. Even with punks, like a lad.
Yeah. Well, I think that's one of the things it explores, isn't it? Is there the different facets of human beings and the different facets. There was a lot of gender stuff in there. Did you pick up on that as well?
Absolutely. Yeah, totally.
Because punk itself is very gender bending anyway.
It was considered it, certainly, at the time, yeah. Because a lot of them would wear makeup. Not in a Bowie way. It was like in a weird, futuristic new... Basically, a lot of punks I've spoken to have said kind of like they wanted to be like one of the X-Men.
There you go. That's a bit alien, isn't it? So it's sort of... The alien theme made sense to me as a kind of trope, if you will.
Yeah, and I like the way the aliens are also other, as you say, but then they're other from the punks, because it's like, they get drawn in by it because it's so different and new, but then they discover that it's a bit odd. and want to change it. So they're all other from each other.
So should we talk about what happens to Vic, his awakening?
Well, it doesn't start off as such. It starts off, it's pretty dark, really.
Yeah,
when you
it's
think
quite.
about
It is dark. Yeah,
because he's getting it on with someone, a lady, and
she appears to be probing him with her digits.
she just fingers his ass. Let's be honest, that's what happens.
I was trying to say it in a nice way, John.
She fingers his ass, or fists, who knows?
He seems to be enjoying it anyway.
Yeah. But then, from out of nowhere, mysteriously, this other person appears, a fella.
And is he happy about that?
No, to be fair, even if he was up for that kind of thing, he wouldn't be happy with that. You don't just randomly join in, do you?
No.
Well, I mean, maybe at certain types of parties you do, but it's not that kind of party.
Not that kind of... Nice, Hannibal. No, he's not too happy about it. So he's got his eyes closed. He's in the moment. He's enjoying it. He opens his eyes and there's a guy there and he freaks out. He jumps up right away. He feels violated. He grabs his mates. One of them's in this sort of trance, like dancing state. The Hen, what's his name? Hen? Is it Hen?
No, I thought that. He's Henry. And I thought for ages he was saying Hen was his name, but it's N. He's completely cut off the H.
Emery. It's a bit Cockney, isn't it?
Henry. Yeah, I think that's what it is. Yeah.
So-
Even though he's not that Cockney himself.
Is he with Elle Fanning's character at this point?
Yeah, Zan. And my favourite detail about him going around the party, not only is it that it ends up in the kitchen, like every good party does when you're a fucking nerd like me.
As Niall McGowan well knows.
Niall McGowan well knows. But my favourite detail is that he's carrying a bag of beers. Because that's every party ever. I'm the person carrying the bag round.
BYOB.
I've got the bag of cans.
Well, you know how to keep them cool, to be fair. I always get shouted at if they're lukewarm.
That's because you leave the cool bag open.
Moving on.
But yeah, he is with her.
Yeah, so they've kind of, they're very straight away, they're very intrigued by each other, aren't they? And he's just pleased that he's got some female attention, I think, from an attractive girl.
Yeah, I get the
He's done
vibe
well.
Vic gets all the ladies, yeah, none of the
Yeah.
others do.
Well, he got both, didn't he, this time round,
Well, yeah,
unexpectedly. So, anyway, he feels violated, and I think, it is dark, but it does make him think on, doesn't it, about how he to treat people. It may be
Oddly,
future,
yes.
in
At
the
first,
future.
he's very scared, but he does quite quickly come around, which is in a scene later on where he's looking at a record that has a picture of a semi-naked man on it.
And there's another gender bending bit because it's a kind of male and female body. So there's the breasts and
Actually, yeah,
penis, isn't there?
That's a good point. Yeah,
So that's a bit Hedwig again.
absolutely. I didn't even think of that. Yeah, it is.
So you've got kind of a lot of that kind of thing going on with the gender. And can I talk a bit about the aliens and the costumes?
Yeah, because they are in this scene, and we don't mind saying they're aliens. They are.
Yeah, sorry, spoilers, guys, but
This is spoiler filled. If you don't want to know anymore, shut this off fucking now. Fucking now.
so when we were watching it, we really liked the kind of at the beginning of the movie, I should say, you see these shapes, these spherical shapes with runes on them, kind of rune-like things on, and I didn't realise, that these represent the different colonies of the aliens, so they're all kind of colour coordinated, which I think is lovely because kamikaze rainbow and all that.
Well, yeah, and by colony, they seem to indicate, as you learn later on, maybe even different races of aliens that have sort of come together in a covenant.
Yeah, and they seem to have a sort of hive-like existence. They can seemingly almost possess people.
Yeah.
So when this Sand character goes out of, she's off with this guy. There's a moment where one of the colony is trying to call her back, and they've possessed the boy's mum. So that gives you a bit of like background detail. I won't go into too much about that, but the different colours were interesting because I didn't get onto it quite at first, but as I was looking at it when it kept going back to these shapes, it reminded me of the chakras. So there's the 7 chakras.
I didn't pick up on it.
And when I looked into that a bit more, like it's something that I'm exploring a little bit myself, because I don't know loads about it. I'm not really an expert on it, but obviously I do know a bit. So there was a purple colony, wasn't there?
Yeah.
And they seem to be sort of the leaders, almost.
Do they wear purple though? Because the leaders were white, didn't they? Or is their colour purple, but they wear, you know
I
what I mean?
think there were ones that were purple,
Oh,
like
okay.
Matt Lucas's character.
Yeah, no, you're right. It was the leader who wore white, the one.
What do I refer to him as? The old queen.
The old queen,
Yeah.
yeah. But the rest of them are purple, yeah.
So the purple characters, I've looking it up. It says the crown, the crown chakra is purple, so the crown is the head.
Ah.
And it says that it's located at the top of the head, and it represents higher states of consciousness and divine connection. Imbalanced attributes will be cynicism, disregarding what is sacred, closed-mindedness, and disconnection with the spirit. Now, these characters are trying to stop her, aren't they? They're very closed-minded.
Yes, absolutely.
To this boy coming into her life. They don't like it at all. So I think that it's tapping into that element of it.
Definitely, they are trying to stop her, because the implication at the start, at least, is, you know, she wants to go off with him and experience the world, which her group are supposed to do, but they want to control it, and they want her to experience it the way they wanted to experience it.
Yeah. And then there was the blue ones were the ones who were making those strange sounds.
Oh,
so
yeah, they
making
like
the really.
don't they?
Now, blue in chakras is the throat chakra.
Oh, okay.
So that lends itself to, you know, because they were very vocal.
Oh, that makes perfect sense, because it's like throat singing almost.
Yeah.
It's like a kind of oh.
And it represents shyness, being withdrawn, arrogance, and increased anxiety. Well, it's quite they try and cause anxiety in people. There's a bit where they run up to some of the characters, doing that voice to intimidate them and make them feel anxious.
Yeah, they're kind of like the soldiers, almost. Yeah.
So I thought that was interesting. The yellow one, the yellow colours, is the solar plexus chakra. So that's sort of like your stomach area.
Oh, is that what that is? I always thought it was your chest.
Yeah, well, it's located below the chest, so you're not far off. That represents self-esteem, pleasure, willpower, and personal responsibility. And it says an imbalance of it would mean low self-esteem, control issues, manipulative tendencies, and misuse of power.
Oh, and she's yellow.
She's yellow, yeah.
So she's actually the most yellow.
Yeah.
And the rest of them are not.
They're not balanced.
They're not balanced, because they are doing that to her. Yeah.
And yellow's my favourite colour, so I was happy with that.
We all know green's the best colour, but go on.
Well, we'll get to green. Then there's the orange one. Now, the orange is interesting because that represents the sacral. So that's your navel. That's all linked to sexuality. And they were the ones that performed the sexual acts.
That's true. They were sort of more free to be sexual and whatnot, whereas the other characters didn't really.
Yeah. So that's it says here. So an imbalance would be lack of or repressed creativity, sexual dysfunction, withheld intimacy, and emotional isolation. And I think as well, if you looked at their suits, their sexuality, the sexual organs were emphasised in the suit. So there was the breasts and the intimate areas were.
Nah, you can just fucking say it on this show.
Okay, well, the fanny and the boobs were highlighted.
Remember, most of these listeners are American. Fanny is something very different.
No, vagina then. They were highlighted, weren't they? So that again lends to that. Mm-hmm. Was there a red colour? I don't remember there being red.
Off the top of my head, no. But again, this is our first viewing mere moments ago, so I could be very wrong.
Okay, and then as the movie progresses, they wear these rings, I should say, and the rings correspond to whatever colony.
The rings of power.
They kind of are. They correspond to whatever colony they're individual belongs to. But they're not really individual, are they? They're not very...
Well, that's Elle Fanning. I'm calling her Elle Fanning. Zan. That's Zan's whole argument, is that the point is they've come to this planet to experience things as individuals and learn and grow.
Yeah.
And they're not. They're acting like one. It's very conformist.
Yeah. And punk is obviously an
Well, that's what attracts
perfect
her. Yeah.
vehicle for her to explore.
And thank God it's not 80s punk, because now that is conformist.
Yeah, definitely. So she has the yellow ring. She has this moment, doesn't she? They do this amazing punk performance together, and the ring changes colour when they merge. The two of them merge.
We haven't got to that yet, but yeah, we'll get there.
So, I just wanted to say that the green represents the heart, and she actually refers to it as that as well. She says something about, I can't remember the full line, but she does mention the heart.
But are the symbols on the rings the same as the chakra ones, or they're made up symbols?
They're made up symbols because, as you can...
Oh, as we can see here, they are different because they're kind of Hindu.
Yeah.
But the green one, eventually, it represents the two of them.
Does, yeah.
Because it's kind of like the anarchy symbol, quite amusingly.
Yeah, we noticed that, didn't we? With a sort of lightning bolt kind of attached to it. So, yeah, I just thought that was really interesting, and it's definitely deliberate as well.
Oh, yeah. No, absolutely. In fact, I looked it up while you were talking, and it is. There's an interview here where they're explaining it. So,
okay.
So that's cool. You're not wrong at all.
Fabulous.
So Zan wants to live this fun-free life while she can, she keeps alluding to, because turns out something bad happens to these people. But anyway, she runs off. She leaves her home and legs it with her new beau. And they spend a lovely day. Is it a day? It's not very long.
I think, it's a day, or maybe two.
It's quite cute considering he's a punk. They go eating tomatoes.
And chips.
That's very English.
Throw the chips at the wall there. I didn't like that.
He's a punk. He's taking the piss.
Still wasting
That's what you do.
food.
You just fucking destroy. But
he also creates.
And it's quite funny, the tomatoes they eat grow out of shit. Because he's explained that tomatoes grow basically anywhere the pipes break. Because you eat tomatoes and the seeds come out in your shit.
Oh, yeah, he did say that.
So if the pipes are burst anywhere, it'll come out and tomatoes will just grow. That's fantastic.
That is good. Is that why it looked like a really random place then that they were eating them?
That's why.
I see.
I didn't know that. And I think it's true when I briefly looked it up 5 seconds ago, before we recorded this.
Well, that's a running theme, isn't it? And when you think about it, the tomato, because it's in Hedwig as well.
Oh yeah, and I ask on Inch by Angry Inch, like, what's the deal with tomatoes?
Well, maybe that's what it's about. Maybe it's about you've been through shit and you grow into something. You grow
out of it.
You grow into something pure.
You know what? Whether or not that was intended at the time, that's my new fucking headcanon.
I wouldn't be surprised if John Cameron Mitchell's obviously a very deep thinker, and
that comes across in this,
definitely,
because it's spiritual. So after their fun day together, they wake up, and
she's gone.
Well, she's gone. She's gone, and she's chilling out in the.
Yeah, but he thinks she's gone.
She's in the treehouse. I mean, she's an alien. Who knows? She might sleep 20 minutes a day.
True.
Who knows? She could have been there for fucking hours. But he takes her back in, and she's introduced to his mum, who's an eccentric figure.
Oh my goodness me.
She's one of those mums who thinks she's a cool mum. She's down with the kids.
Think she's got a drinking problem. It's hinting at that.
Well, the dad's left. The dad's not around anymore. And although she's met someone else, I think it still does hurt a little bit. And she is hitting the booze.
He doesn't approve of the other kind of father figure either, does he?
No, he seems really into his dad, who's no longer there. He's a big fan of his dad. He thinks he's punk as fuck.
I think his dad was sort of, the person that he related to the most.
Yeah, but he's the one who left, so fuck him.
But then he kind of almost becomes that figure then later on, because he becomes a father.
Yeah, well, maybe he does. We'll see. obviously we're skipping through this quite quickly because it's a whole damn movie, and we're not going to talk about it for the entire duration. But there's some funny stuff going on. Zan is on the toilet. And,
Oh God! And then the mum gets. They have that thing where they try and channel.
yeah, and they have a conversation while she's, I assume, taking a shit.
Yeah.
It's taking longer than she anticipated because she had pancakes for the first time and now she's excreting them. That was quite good. And then so the mum gets possessed as she comes into the bathroom,
Very
and
strange.
the aliens are trying to bring Sam back. You got to come back. You got to come back because they're leaving soon. They're leaving in the next day, and she can't be left behind for some reason. Turns out they have a very odd custom.
Do you want to talk about that in more detail?
Well, we will talk about that in more detail in a minute, but we have glossed over one thing. Actually, I completely forgot. The treehouse, right? He reveals his art. Because he has a fanzine, right? He does a punk fanzine. Everyone fucking did that. You know, I mean, look up Sniff and Glue. That's one of the greatest ones, Sniff and Glue. So he's got his fanzine, but he's also writing comics, kind of. He's created a comic character.
Virus Boy.
Virus Boy!
Spelled with a Y?
Which is funny, because isn't his fanzine Virus?
Yeah.
But it's spelt right, isn't it? Or
no,
did I miss that?
It's spelled with a Y.
Oh, is that with a Y
Yeah.
too? Oh, that's fine then. That makes sense. That's his like logo for the fanzine as well,
Again,
isn't it?
very on the nose with current climate and all.
Yeah.
She refers to him as a virus as well, which was something else maybe to pick apart if we're going into real detail about this. So she says something about how she came from bacteria and she'd never met a virus before.
Yeah, that was weird to me. I reckon with a bit of thought I'll figure that out a bit more. But
It's probably a metaphor for just the human race being like a bit of a scourge and a virus on the earth.
yes.
And that this alien race who,
Well, the bourgeoisie are.
well, but these aliens, they travel to all different planets and they've seen the destruction that humans have caused. So that's probably why she's referring to him as a virus, as a collective sort of virus.
Yeah.
But then
I
there
think
is
so.
that the optimistic thing, as I said earlier, of perhaps a virus can save us, and well, the ending sort of hints to that, maybe, doesn't it?
It does. Helps her people, which we will see. But then he takes her to meet a friend. Well, not even really a friend. A woman he sees at gigs, basically. She puts the gigs on. And she's played by someone very familiar to me and Niall from the Bat Minute podcast.
Yeah, well, you didn't recognise her straight away, did you?
I did not. I'm an idiot. I'm a fucking idiot when it comes to this. You always recognise people.
I am good with faces, but I was like, I know who she is, So she's played by Nicole Kidman.
Yeah, that's wild.
Chase Meridian.
Chase Meridian, yep. In fact, we just had, as of recording, we just had someone on Bat Minute a couple of days ago who was saying like she loves Nicole Kidman and she's fascinated with her film choices because she's a huge actress, but she makes very odd choices of what movies to be in.
That's true.
Like she'll do some blockbusters, then she'll do some bizarre things. Like it's all over the map. She never picks the obvious, boring choice.
Yeah, that's fair play to her.
And in this, she's putting gigs on. She's an artist. She's got a bit of a vibe of a Vivienne Westwood. In fact, she references that she used to work for Vivienne Westwood.
Yeah. She does.
And she knew Johnny Rotten and all this. And she's the one who's been left behind when everyone else has succeeded for whatever reason.
She's not very happy, is she? But she seems to be a sort of mother figure to the punks.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of parallels with the kind of the conformist aliens and their colonies, because they call them parent teachers, which are their mentors, and she's sort of like that to the punks.
Yeah.
And you could argue maybe there's like a little bit of conformity there because, well, that did start to happen with punk a little bit.
It does
as
eventually.
went on. So that was quite interesting.
That was
as
cool.
well.
Why do they go and meet her again initially? I'm trying to remember.
He wants to show her his fanzine.
Oh, that's it. Yeah, he's taken her the fanzine to try and sort of get the name out there. And
she's obviously a very influential figure, and
Well, it turns out she's got a pile of 1,000 fucking fanzines that every little dickhead's brought around.
yeah, but his is the best.
Is the best. I bet that happens all the time. I bet it always fucking happens.
Yeah.
It must be like record labels back in the day. It probably doesn't happen anymore, but back in the day, constantly must have just got sent people's demo tapes.
Oh, God, I know.
And I'm sure some of them are gold, but you can't comb through them all.
No, definitely
That's
not.
the problem. And so she doesn't fucking bother. She chucks it on the pile.
But she's not impressed by any of them, is she? They come in and he's like, do you want to see my fanzine? And she's like, fuck off. And then
Oh, but she's taken by Zan.
she is. So Zan knocks all of her clothes over because she's designed a lot of metal. She's done a lot of metal work and
Which is odd.
Yeah, it was cool. It was cool. And she's designed all of these clothes, and Zan accidentally, being curious, knocks them over, and she's not very happy about it initially, but then she starts talking to her, and because she's a bit strange and introverted and a bit of a weirdo herself, they kind of like have this connection, and they really get each other. And
I got the vibe that Nicole Kidman's character kind of fancied her a bit.
I don't know about that.
I don't know,
think
there's a bit where she's caressing her face and...
But as we realise later on, she's not really a very sexual person, is she? She's not really interested in sex.
Because she's a punk, and that was cool to hate sex.
And she's had quite a checkered past. She says something about how she's had 12 abortions and
Yeah.
all this, that and the other. So I think she's quite tired of life in general. It's the vibe I got from
Fucking
it.
hell. That's bleak.
Well, yeah, but it can be, can't it?
Yeah, no, yeah, absolutely.
So she's intrigued by that. She starts doing her up, and then because she sort of has the say on these things, comes out to the crowd and says, you know, we've got a new singer tonight, and she introduces her.
Yeah, she's decided Zan is going to sing.
Now Zan's like nervous about it because she's obviously an alien. She doesn't know.
She doesn't know songs.
She doesn't know songs.
She even literally says that, doesn't she? I don't know any songs. And she
Yeah.
doesn't mean for the group that she's going to be fronting. She means at all.
Which must be very daunting. And she comes out and starts kind of like a beat poetry.
It's kind of like a
Almost.
performance art. It kind of initially, in the first few seconds, reminded me of that bit in Rent.
Oh God, yeah.
Yeah,
Actually,
over the moon.
Oh, you know how much I love that. Not.
It's you love Rent, but you don't like that bit for some reason. I don't think you're meant to like her in Rent. We'll get to that. We're going to do a Rent show.
Yeah, we'll save that.
We'll save it.
So it reminded me of like, yeah, a bit of that, a bit of Yoko Ono, and then it kind of goes into this very punk.
Yeah, because the band kind of feel what she's going for and know how to jazz it up. Because she gets into the vibe and she starts screaming things.
And then it all goes a bit trippy and weird.
First though, it goes super fucking punk because
Oh yeah.
what's his face joins in. I'm fucking awful with names.
N joins in.
as well as like a backing singer, and he kind of understands what he needs to sing. Weirdly,
because they've made this connection with
Yeah.
each other, and
like
maybe
E.T.
she's
but sexual.
yeah. Oh, don't want to go there.
E.T. is sexy.
Maybe to you, love.
Well, that finger. Look at that finger.
And on that note,
That's a hot finger.
it is a good just get warm.
Yeah.
So they have this moment, and he's backing her up. He's like a wingman because they're shouting at her and they're being quite mean and critical and telling her to go back home and all this business.
They turn around though, don't they?
And they turn around and they're very impressed by what this is revolutionary. They've never heard anything like it before. And then they kind of have this moment where they're kissing, and the room slips away.
Yeah.
And it's very trippy. It's like what I imagine it would be like if you were on LSD.
Well, they see themselves kind of in space and
Yeah,
amongst
and
all
time
those chakra things. The colours are all around them and whatnot.
Yeah, it's very spiritual. It's very existential. It's It's all of those kind of things. It's like nothing else matters, just the two of them. In the
Yeah,
moment.
well, that's the thing. I don't think it's necessarily literal. I think that they're in their own world, is what it's saying.
Yeah.
Like, everything else is... Fuck the crowd. That
I
doesn't
think
matter.
it could be literal as well.
Yeah,
though.
but I mean, like, it's showing it in a literal way.
Yeah.
But you can also say, well, it's showing their bond, their connection. Nothing else matters in that moment. Blah blah blah. But then something happens with the two of them, which echoes back to his comic character, who goes around and infects people.
Oh, yeah.
He infects like the police and fascists and things, and turns them punk. And you see it happen in this scene, which I think is meant to kind of... It's almost like a sex scene. It's this movie's version of a sex scene.
Like a Barbarella sex scene.
Yeah, because she takes like his essence into her through the mouth, which is a bit like Hedwig, breathe through my mouth.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. So she takes his essence in, and it even looks like the comic. It's the same kind of artwork, just CGI now.
Yeah. It's like swirly and... Yeah, like something's... But like a virus, really. The virus that he is infecting her.
Sticks hold.
Glory. But it's infecting her in a positive way.
Yeah.
Which then lends back to this whole thing of, maybe the virus will save us and help us in some way.
Well, I think it's going to help.
Unlike Ms. Rona.
Unlike Ms. Rona. See, we're thinking of it from a human perspective, but I think the virus helps her species, because it turns out doing that, which we're skipping ahead a little bit, but we're going to go back. It's made her pregnant.
Which is revealed by the old queen, who is apparently also a walking pregnancy test.
Yeah, apparently. But I don't know, fucking aliens, you just look in someone's eyes and you go, yeah, you're knocked up.
She's got green sparkly eyes, and that indicates that she's pregnant with many children.
Wouldn't that, if that was real in our world, wouldn't that just be both very fabulous and much simpler for everyone?
Yeah.
Much fucking simpler.
We don't know how they give birth to them, though, because...
I like that. Did you want to see it? Because I
No, I didn't want to see it, but I'm saying that is it less horrific than human birth?
I think not, right? Because basically, now she's pregnant, they've got even more of an incentive that they want her to leave, basically. Because it's unusual for one of them to become pregnant in this way, especially with a human. And they keep saying she can't have them here.
Yeah, they keep referring back to this, don't they?
And
They
I
don't
wonder
go into
why. Like, it must be something really fucking weird, right?
We don't know if it's cultural or it's...
No, I don't think... I think it's physical. I think she cannot have them here.
Maybe it's like... Because there's that scene... Sorry, I'm going back here a bit, but the boy who's violated, probed...
Yep.
He witnesses that happen to somebody else, a girl, and he sees he sees it from the perspective, so from behind, this girl's getting rammed, basically, with fingers.
Finger ram.
And he witnesses it and sees the sort of, and one person come out of another person, a bit like cell splitting again, leading back to this virus, bacteria idea of like division.
Yeah,
and
it turns out that the guy who joined in earlier is within that woman, like literally, physically.
That bit sort of freaked us out a little bit, didn't it?
Some of it is scary. Like.
Yeah, we weren't really expecting that. But again, it goes back to this kind of cell division idea. So maybe that's how the children are born. They come out. They split out of them.
It's possible. It is possible.
But it's not really explored. We're just, we're musing.
Musing, darling.
Like that word, musing.
Muse. But after the gig, Zan reveals that the lyrics she was singing, they weren't. That wasn't just a song. Like it's literal. The parents consume the young in her culture. So the young go out and experience things, and the parents eat them, and then have more babies. It's very weird. It's kind of like
strange.
It's like a ruling class.
It's also a little bit like Circle of Life as well, isn't it? Kind of death and rebirth.
They do get reborn multiple times. Only a set amount of times, but they do. But wouldn't, in that case, the kids should eat the parents?
Well, yeah.
That's why I
That's
mean.
quite punk, isn't it?
Yeah, which I think that'd be fun if that's how it ended. It's like, oh, we're going to flip it on its head. But no, it's the other way. The parents eat the children, so they are kind of oppressing them and keeping them down.
Yeah.
Like these rulers are allowed to live on and on and on.
Yeah. And we see that very, very ancient one, who's like obviously the first one, maybe of their kind.
Could be thousands of years old. Doesn't explain. It could,
No.
He looks old though, and the others don't look old. So
The kind of Terence Stamp figure. That's a reference to Priscilla, Queen of the Desert. If you've seen that movie, I highly recommend it.
oh, we're going to review that.
Oh, very good. So, yeah, it's interesting that you brought that up actually about the parents eating the children, because I feel in a way almost like that's happening with him in his world as well, because his mum's behaviour, drinking, kind of how miserable she is, it's eating away at him and his self-esteem and things like that, and he can't get past this whole absent father thing. So through this girl getting pregnant, obviously it's not ideal, but it's
Well,
not
no,
a
'cause-
normal pregnancy either.
No.
But
Didn't
maybe
even get any first. Jeez.
well, but even through that, you know, he's getting to take on that role himself and maybe do it better, maybe do it in a way that, you know, be the father that his father couldn't be to him.
I agree, but he is a bit young. Because he is clearly like 17 or something.
Well, as we see, he doesn't have to bring them up in a human way anyway.
No. It's going to be unique. Oh, yeah, then there's a really fucking weird bit where he has a vision because he's so connected to Zan. It's almost like he's seeing things through her eyes, even though she's not literally seeing it, but he's getting glimpses into her world.
He's asleep, isn't he?
Yeah.
At this time.
It's like a dream sequence. But he sees the eating ceremony.
Ooh, it's really grim.
Yeah, because one of them's sort of broken the rules, so they're doing it early with her, and oh my fucking god, it shit me up, because what the alien guy gets his like jaw broken open and like
By
stretched.
somebody else.
I'm assuming that's kind of like, because it's not their real bodies, you know, it doesn't matter to them. It's not.
It's almost like it reminded me of a snake.
Yeah.
A snake collapses its jaw to consume a bigger animal.
Because you don't see it, but the implication is he's kind of, at the very least, putting the woman's head in his mouth and eating the head.
It was really, I don't know about you, but when they said about this eating thing, I didn't particularly think it was literal.
Oh no, I did. I was getting that vibe because I knew they were aliens all along. Remember?
Yeah, but I thought maybe the eating would be, I don't know, more of a kind of a metaphor, but no, it was a literal eating, and then you don't see it, but you see it. You know, she's reluctantly going into this person's mouth, or this alien's mouth, and she's sort of been brainwashed into thinking that it's an enlightening thing, it's a good thing. They all
Well, she will come back. To be fair, it's not her final form, so it's not like she's dead.
But it seems to be horrific because they all scream, don't they? When you hear like a crunch, you don't see anything, but you hear a crunch.
It's physically gross. I mean, that's the thing.
And they all sort of scream.
So then, after he's witnessed that and he knows it's happening, I think it's around then that she reveals to En that that's going to happen to her. That's why they're leaving, because they need to go back up from wherever they came from, and all the young are going to be eaten in the ceremony, because that's what happens on a regular basis. You know, it's their cycle, it's their life cycle. For whatever reason, even though they're a dying race, they still do this. I think that's showing they care more. The leaders care more about themselves and their growth than their species.
But then they reject it, don't they, as it goes on?
Well, En gets all the punks together and decides with Zan they're going to go around and smash the fucking place up and just beat everyone up.
Well, he kind of gets the wrong end of it, because obviously he's not aware of it fully being an alien at this point, even though all the signs are kind of pointing to it. So he goes to his mates and tells them, and they don't believe him, but he says they're part of a cannibalistic American cult.
Which they kind of are.
Yeah. but it's obviously stranger and more alien. And so they go into the house, don't they? And they break in by pretending to be, two of them pretend to be vermin.
Yeah, but it doesn't
Extractors.
work though, does it? So they just fucking punch that guy right in the face. Wha-bam!
He asks to see ID and he punches him in the face. And then they run up the stairs. I thought this bit was quite funny. They're running up the stairs, full pelt,
Playing
white
music.
riot, running up, and there's a blockade of people all kind of in a circus troupe on top of each other.
Forming a human wall to stop them breaking into the weird compound.
And it does work because they immediately are like, whoa, and they stop. And then he squeezes the guy's nipple. And that makes the whole structure
See, that's the kind
of
of
human beings, well, alien beings, topple.
That's the kind of shit I love, and I think that's the kind of stuff some people wouldn't.
No,
Daft,
it's
silly,
very
tweaks the nipple.
it's very John Cameron Mitchell's humour, isn't it?
I love that they just go around to smash it up, though. That's very punk. We're gonna smash this fucking weird place up. Screw them all. They're horrible people.
Yeah, and the Vivienne Westwood, Nicole Kidman characters there, and she's the sacral chakras, the orange aliens are trying to seduce her, and as we alluded to earlier, that doesn't work. She just outright says she plays along with it, and then she sort of says, "I got ya." You know, sex is dead. I don't believe in all that kind of stuff. So, and then they kind of all start to come around, and they're just interacting and talking amongst themselves, and it's like a big house party. They're all sat on the stairs,
Yeah, they
and
kind of
drinking.
make friends with some of them. They introduce them to booze and things, you know.
Yeah, and she's saying that she's kind of tired of it as well.
Yeah, I think the young are all getting on board with it. Like, they all understand already. It's just that Zan was the first one to do anything.
Yeah, because they're all different. The chakra is all about different facets, isn't it? So if they're just one facet of they're not a complete thing. They're one facet of
Yes.
it. So they're kind of tired of just conforming to being that one thing all the time. There's
Yeah.
many layers to them, like there are to human beings.
Exactly.
So-
Which is a bit like Hedwig again.
Again,
with
yeah,
the
it
whole
is.
with the approach to gender and
Yeah.
whatnot, because you know Hedwig is sort of funneled down a certain path,
True.
which it turns out they do have a strong connection to, but by doing that they're denying other parts of themselves.
Yeah, no, it's really great, like synchronicity, and it's very in keeping with John Cameron Mitchell, his vision and his ideas that he's obviously very passionate
The
about.
JCM cinematic universe.
Yeah, and then so the N comes in. He's like, well, what's going on here? You know, why are you all just? He's confused. Why aren't they smashing them up? Why is they just sitting here? But it's actually, this has brought them together. It's kind of changed their. It's opened them up to, we are more than just this thing that
Yeah.
that we're expected to be, and you know that I thought that was quite powerful.
It was very much.
To see, really, you know, that I thought it was really well done, and quite deep, which you know.
Yeah, it's a deep movie and like not in the bad way, a shallow movie. It's both mixed together.
Yeah.
I found that fascinating.
So then, what happens after that?
Well, then the aliens all get
elders.
together to decide to vote because, you know, this has all caused friction, attention. Some of them are deciding to dissent and they don't want to do the eating anymore,
They think it's wrong, and it's
which is fucking weird.
yeah.
So they do eventually agree because basically they're tied. But it turns out because Zan is pregnant, she is now a parent like them. She's kind of ascended, which is unusual again. But so she
so
gets
young.
the deciding vote. But the problem with that is you're not allowed to vote until you give birth. Basically.
Oh yeah.
But she can't give birth on Earth. So she needs to decide, basically, is she going to stay on Earth and maybe have the kids, maybe it won't work, maybe they'll die in childbirth, I don't know. But she could be with N, Or will she go and pass her vote and basically save her whole species?
And I think she goes with the right decision. It's heartbreaking that she leaves him behind, and they're both cut up over it. But it is kind of to further the race and to better the race.
Yeah, exactly.
The
She's
colony.
doing what's right, really, isn't she? Because she's saving all their lives. They're going to go extinct and whatnot because they're being fucking idiots.
And she creates the heart colony.
Yeah.
Green, the heart.
It's
the
sort
new,
of her new house, let's say.
Yeah, new symbol. And that it's green, the heart chakra.
Which looks a bit like an anarchy symbol.
Yeah.
Ah, fuck yeah, punk.
It's actually, thinking about it, the aliens have always had that one way, that one tradition. They've conformed. Zan is different because she was open to new experiences.
Yeah.
And then that ultimately has led her race to a better way of thinking, a better way of understanding. It's also introduced them to politics and that they don't have to follow the old ways. That
Important messages for humans, this, with all kinds of things, with approaches to race, sex, sexuality, gender,
I didn't write it
society.
down. I didn't write it down, but there was a line in there and it said something like evolve or die.
It was something like that, yeah.
Which stuck out to me as, and I suppose that could be the tagline of the movie, really.
Yeah, that should be the tagline of the fucking human race.
Yeah.
We need to. We've got to grow, got to learn. And it's quite fun that we teach the aliens that. It's not the other way around, like in a lot of movies.
It's that, yeah, that's true, actually.
Usually the aliens teach us to be better and help save us.
Yeah.
Even though they're more technologically advanced, we save them. Inadvertently. But the way they actually exit the planet is... I could see it coming in a good way. Like, as it built... Oh, Drew just meowed. Hello, Drusilla. That's our cat, Drusilla.
Hi, Drew.
Hopefully you picked that up on the microphone there. Hello. But the way they exit the planet... Yeah, I saw it coming a little bit before it happened, and I was excited that it actually went there. So they kind of are a suicide cult.
Oh.
Because they all gather up on the rooftop and just fucking jump. And
Like
just,
lemmings. But
like
there's
lemmings.
no bodies, are there?
Well, you don't see their bodies at first because you don't see them hit, right? So, you just get the vibe. Okay, they jump, their physical bodies are destroyed, but they don't need them. They're vessels. So their spirits go back up to wherever they come from. But then you see Zan do it. Like, obviously, N doesn't want her to. But she says that she loves him, but shoves him away and jumps. But yeah, you don't see her body at the bottom.
No.
So that's interesting. Because I thought the body would be left behind. But then at the same time, that would draw a lot of attention to them. Because someone's going to find all those corpses.
Maybe the bodies just I don't know, Buffy style turned to dust and they ascended their
They turn to light. Or
their
something.
rainbow bodies.
Yeah. That's another thing, actually. Yeah, the chakra's all different colours. It's like a rainbow.
Well, there is a thing called the rainbow body,
Oh, there you go.
which is all about enlightenment.
Oh, well, fucking... You should have seen rainbow beams fly out of their skulls as they smashed into the floor.
Well, does it look like a Jackson 5 video
Yeah.
back in the 70s?
But that was quite epic. And then you see it jumps into the future.
Oh, yeah, that was a surprise.
Yeah, I didn't expect that. You get a time jump. You go to 1992, which is a real fucking time jump. And you see that N is now a successful comic book writer and artist. I think he does both, doesn't he? Is what it's implying.
And he's written this book called, is it Virus Boy?
Yeah, Virus Boy and the Colony or something is the new issue. And he's signing it. People are coming to see him at the comic book shop, and
they're saying that they love his work and all this business, aren't they?
But he gets some very special visitors who I picked up on who it was straight away, didn't I?
Well, what colour were they wearing?
They were wearing green.
They were wearing green.
There was quite a few of them, but it's aliens. They've come to visit him, and it's either his children or at least it's the descendants of that.
Yeah,
it's the house that has been formed from his children, at least.
The children of the house, darling.
Yes.
Yeah, because we don't know what their lifespan is, how long it is, or...
It seems to be short. I get the impression they do only live like a few days and then they get consumed and then they come back.
But they're aware of his existence and they know who he is. They're all like, they want to be there and stay. And it's a sweet moment, isn't it?
It is. And they've done their best to age up the actor.
Oh,
like, obviously,
him.
he still looks young, to be fair, but they've done their best. He looks a bit like Dylan Moran.
He does. I got a bit of a Stephen King vibe off him as
Oh,
well.
okay. Yeah. I see that. But no, it is quite sweet. They want to come and live on Earth and be with him and learn from him. And they've all got punk names. I fucking love that.
Oh, God. What were the names? There was Jonesy, like
Steve Jones. There's Dee Dee, like Dee Dee Ramone.
Dee Dee.
There was Ariop.
Oh, yeah.
Ariop, yeah.
And then one of them was called N.
One of them was called N, named after him.
And you could see the actor's very good, and you could see the sort of recognition on his face. He was thinking, "Oh, there's something about these." And then when that name, and he gets teary-eyed, and
I loved it.
It was quite a sweet moment, wasn't it?
It was really sweet. And
it did actually. Thinking about it now, it really did invoke a little bit of Red Dwarf. You know, the way that.
In what way?
Lister, because Lister's sort of like responsible for the cats and
okay, yeah,
and all that.
Especially
kind of
they did a special of Red Dwarf recently, all about the cats.
Yeah, so I got a little bit of that in there as well.
I thought he was just a fucking great actor in general. I saw a review here where it's like, oh, Elle Fanning and Nicole Kidman are the best. I thought, oh, they are great. Don't get me wrong, but I thought Alex Sharp, I think his name is, he was a fucking revelation to me. I thought he was unbelievable. He got every emotion across. He was funny.
He was very real, wasn't he?
He was real. He came across very real. And I'm looking here, I was thinking, has he been in a lot? He hasn't. He's been in 8 things.
I did read something about him being... He'd won an award for being in Curious Incident of the Dog in the Nighttime.
Okay.
On the West End, which I have actually seen, so I may well have seen him, but can't remember because it was a few years ago now.
Well, he's been in To the Bone, then this, UFO, Better Start Running, the unaired Game of Thrones prequel pilot,
Okay.
which I think is the one that they cancelled to make the other one. So I don't think we're going to see him in Game of Thrones. The Sunlit Night, The Hustle, The Trial of the Chicago 7. So nothing huge, although The Hustle has Anne Hathaway and Rebel Wilson in it. And then he's the third build, so...
Okay.
So maybe that's him, and that was only last year.
He might be just an up-and-coming one talent. It's interesting you think something called UFO, considering this about aliens.
Yeah, and is he one of the main people? He's one of them. He's the top billed person in UFO, with Gillian Anderson.
Oh.
So
also an Alien Connection.
Oh, we're watching that. Holy shit! I really love this guy. I'd watch anything he's in.
He was great, and it was quite emotional, that moment where he sees his children, and the children as well, they don't look necessarily like their parents. They were all different races, creeds, skin colours.
Well, that's why I wasn't sure, like, is that because they're aliens, so they kind of, that's just them taking on human form, so it doesn't have to look like him? Or is that because the other thing we thought, maybe that's his descendants? So maybe there's been hundreds generations already of this house.
Yeah, and I sort of maybe saw it as a metaphor for just the human race as well. Yeah. And that he's made things better, and we're all kind of one family, as we found out with this bloody pandemic that's going on at the moment. All of our actions affect each other.
Yeah, well, people should be taking it that way, but some people are selfish, stupid fucking idiots.
We won't go there, but you are right, yeah.
But that is the end of the actual plot. Now, we've talked about how much we loved him. I loved his 2 mates as well. I thought they were really good. My only problem is, and I know you can't make the movie 5 hours long, but I would have liked to get to know them even more. Now, I know it's not their story and their side characters, and again, it's already an hour and 40-odd minutes. But, make a TV show or something. I don't know. I would like to have spent more time with them.
It was fine for me, to be honest. I preferred looking at it. I liked all the exploring it as a kind of You could do a dissertation on this film
Yeah.
easily.
I think everybody basically in the movie is solid. I don't think there's a bad performance in it either.
No.
No, they're all really, really good. The young people in it are great, which is a shock because I usually just fucking hate the young. You're all awful. You scum.
Oh, leave them alone. They're the future.
I hate them.
There was some surprising little cameos in there as well, which we both spotted, weren't there? So there was, well, not so much a cameo. He was featured in it a bit more, but Matt Lucas was in there.
Matt Lucas, that was crazy
Yeah,
to me. Yeah,
he was one of the purple people. He
the
was
purple people.
trying to,
The purple people eater.
trying to get her to come back, and there was also Simon Amstel.
That was great. It's a shame that was a cameo because Simon Amstel, if the listeners don't know who
gold.
he is, yeah, because most of the listeners are American. Not to insult you, but he's great. He's a wonderful English comedian. He's not like a mainstream comedian, is he? Even though he presented
He's very political, isn't he?
very political.
He's a queer comedian
He's
as
a
well.
queer comedian. He did host one of the most popular shows though for years and years and years. Never mind the Buzzcocks, which is a
Forgot
punk.
he did that.
Yeah, a punk name. He wasn't the original host, but he took over after Mark Lamar left, and he hosted it for years and years and years. So a lot of people associate the show with him.
I haven't seen it as well, but I've been recommended. He did a film about vegetarianism or
Oh yeah.
something about set in the future, and it's talking about meat eating like it was this really crazy thing.
And amusingly, in this, the aliens are vegetarians, except for the parents who eat the young.
Weren't they in McDonald's?
No. Right, that was, well, for a start, that wasn't McDonald's, that was a cafe. Secondly, they were mostly the parents, but she explicitly says, Zan, they are all vegetarians except for the rulers.
Ah, okay.
Because that's another way they control them, in a way.
Yeah.
They're allowed to eat meat, but the young aren't.
Yeah. Oh,
So it's a bit like,
Okay.
yeah, look, Simon, I'm still there with his veggie movie, and in the future, nobody eats meat.
there you go.
Yeah.
And it's getting that way. Sorry to be one of them vegetarians, but you know,
We gonna preach.
we will. We will preach.
So, overall then, we've covered the plot there, we've covered what we love. There's not really many negatives to me. I don't imagine everyone will get on board with it at all. But would you recommend this in general? In general, I absolutely would. I would have to put some caveats in there for certain people whose tastes I know and understand. But overall, I think most people would find something to enjoy out of this, as long as you like putting a bit of thought into a movie. I mean, it's not going to really stretch your mind like David Lynch. It's like a halfway house. I think it's a good introduction to the world of the independent film, of the art movie, of it's not quite The Fountain when it comes to the chakras and all this kind of stuff, but it's an introduction to that kind of world, I think. And I think if people are willing to be open, much like the characters, they'll be accepting of it. And I think fans of Hedwig would find a lot to enjoy in this as well, because on face value it's not similar, but there's a lot of strange philosophy and nods to that kind of stuff, and almost like a fairy tale element, even though it's sci-fi.
Even the colours actually are a bit like the gummy bears in the bag,
Yeah.
because they're kind of rainbow gummies, and that's a metaphor for humanity,
Diversity.
and they're all different colours, the chakras.
Yeah.
So there were lots of little connections like that. We've sort of discussed the tomatoes, and yeah, I would fully recommend it. I thought it was great. It was better than I was expecting it to be. Actually, it was deeper than I was expecting it to be.
Yeah, because I'd heard kind of mixed things.
And I like a film that I can think about, and because I did study philosophy.
Yeah, philosophy. That's like Hansel.
To be fair, it was RE, and I was in high school, but it was ethics and philosophy, and I loved all the kind of Plato stuff. So I like something that you can think about and relate in that way, and I think that's why Hedwig struck a chord with me when I was a little 16-year-old lass.
A sapling.
Yes.
which you'd like because you're a witch. Well, that's the thing. This movie had stuff that we both love separately and together, didn't it? Because
It did.
punk is something we bonded over, and then it's also got kind of magical elements, which you're especially into.
Yeah, with the chakra stuff and the spirituality, and the body isn't really what you are. Your body's just a vessel, a shell for what you are. I'd argue though that you introduced me to punk.
Well, you already knew some.
I knew some, but you educated me on it.
Well, we helped each other, didn't we? Because then I already knew some Bowie, but you got me to love Bowie.
True. How can you not love Bowie?
Well, I was already into Bowie and liked Bowie, but I hadn't like sat and listened to all albums in a row.
Yeah. So just actually to tie into that, one of the reviews that I read said that the movie really did divide critics.
I can see that. Yeah, I get it. Even more than Hedwig, I think would.
Yeah, and one of the reasons was that they say that it's quite niche, and it doesn't capture the music scene at the time, which I would argue with. Okay, it's not playing London Calling, but isn't it a bit different to have, more obscure references in there?
Yeah, I thought it got the best balance, totally. Because, I mean, in his room, he's got posters of all the bands I like. He's got the Slits on the wall. There's Clash things, stuff like that.
Yeah.
But he even mentions the New York Dolls and then goes, well, some people don't think the Dolls are punk because they're not. They're proto-punk. But, so he's right.
Going there.
He's right. I'm going there. I'm controversial. Fuck you all. But he, so he's got all that. But, these characters aren't going to be going to see the Pistols and the Clash and whatnot. They're going to see local bands in small little shithole venue basements.
They're supporting their local artists, which is, kids, get out there, support your local artists.
That's what punk was. Most people didn't go to see the Buzzcocks, at the time. You couldn't. Most people didn't see any of these huge bands.
You wouldn't travel around as much, would you?
No.
As you did.
No.
You do now.
I mean, people would try to.
Not now, obviously, with the lockdown.
No. But that's what I loved, because that was his local scene. That was his local bands he would go and see.
Yeah.
It captured it perfectly. It was the right atmosphere, the right vibe, the right characters. It was great.
Well, John Cameron Mitchell's thoughts on it, and I'm quoting from an article here. It says he laughs at the criticism of the film not capturing the punk scene, and he says it's a sign of the times to define pure subcultures that follow a set of regulations. And the quote from him says, "That's the funny thing about punk. Just like everything else, it starts to become rules.
Yeah.
What are the rules? Suddenly you realise, doesn't that actually go against the definition of punk?"
Yeah, well, that's one reason Johnny Rotten was so pissed off with it all very quickly. Because all the bands that then came out were just like, oh, we're going to be like Sex Pistols. We read about them in the paper.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, not only are you missing the point of punk, but you're not even copying the Pistols well. So, fuck it all. That's why he went and did Pill, my favourite group.
Lack of originality, and, you're a punk, so you have to spit, you have to have safety pins.
Yeah, because the Sun newspaper told you so. That's what they do. But anyway, so we both recommend the movie. We think most listeners to this would probably find something to enjoy in it. I reckon... not everyone will. Not everyone listening will. But I think you should all be willing to give it a try. It might not appeal to all the Batman fans listening, because this feed also goes out to most of the Bat-Minute people. Bat-Minute. But the Hedwig fans, I think, would definitely enjoy it, because Hedwig is a thinker of a movie, despite being a musical.
Yeah.
Despite being... a rock and roll kind of story. It's a thinker. It's got the philosophy in there.
Yeah. That's why it's lasted, I think.
Yes.
And continues to evolve with Riverdale. Although, John,
we're covering that. We're going to do Riverdale.
I've seen a clip and I'm not impressed.
Well, that's probably going to be our next episode. We're going to talk about Riverdale's Hedwig episode, right? And I've seen 2 seasons of Riverdale. So I'm not up to date, but I've seen 2 seasons. Lol, you have seen 0.
I've seen 0, but I've seen enough of it to know that it's not really my thing. But I'll be open-minded, but what I saw, the song cover was shocking.
I love Riverdale.
Nothing short of.
The reason I love Riverdale, right, is because it's tacky, cheesy shit. And it knows it's tacky, cheesy shit, and it plays up to it. It's deliberately, like, crap. And it's wonderful. I love that approach. But yes, everybody, go and check this movie out. Fully recommended by us. And if you don't like it, I don't care. I don't really want to hear from you. No. Do feel free to say constructively why you didn't like it if you do. Don't just be nasty. Constructive, please. We can get a nice dialogue going and we can talk about the themes and things. And Lowell might even join in.
Yeah, we could make a poll about, are you a man of fashion or adventure?
Oh, that's a great quote in the film.
Or both.
Or both. Well, listeners, do get in touch. Let us know. And keep listening to Hedwig Inch by Angry Inch. Maybe check out the Bat-Minute one if you haven't heard that. And we will be back soon with that Riverdale one, whenever we can be bothered, because we're lazy fucking bastards. And most importantly, are you listeners of...
Fashion and adventure.
Or fashion or adventure? Let us know. See you soon, strange rock and rollers.
Bye.
Bye.